Hi guys, I'm Curtis and welcome to A.F.C. Curtis, and today we're going to actually have our first ever interview on the channel, which I'm super excited to have and to show you guys, with Halifax trialist Jonathan Hammond. He's a great guy and I had a great time talking with him about his experience at the Halifax Open Trials and about, you know, him personally and what his style is and certain stuff like that. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more Canadian Premier League content, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. Without further ado, here is the interview.
Hi, I'm Curtis, and today it's a super big pleasure for me to do my very first ever interview here for A.F.C. Curtis channel with defender for Halifax City, Jonathan Hammond. How are you doing today, Jonathan?
Hey, Curtis, how's it going? Happy to be your first guest here on A.F.C. Curtis. Really happy for what you're doing here.
Perfect. Thank you so much for following the account and for watching. I really appreciate the support.
No problem. Anyone who's kind of making the big ups for Canadian soccer, you know, is a friend of mine. So happy to be here as your first guest, and you know, happy to be a supporter in the future.
Jonathan, you're a part of the very first ever Open Trials, really, or really first ever anything for the Canadian Premier League. How was it being a part of history?
You know, very few kind of have that honor. It's it's a big step in Canadian soccer history. Massive for Halifax to kind of have that first step, and you know, it was a super big honor to be part of it. It's felt like it was coming along forever. It's something I've heard of since I was 16. You know, Canada needed its own soccer league, and you know, finally it's here. Probably maybe a few too many years past where I would have liked it. But you know, happy to be part of it. It's all about bringing, you know, soccer home here to Canada, making sure Canadian players have a pathway for development, and you know, the Open Trials was kind of the first step. You know, as you've seen, you know, plenty of other steps have kind of made their way in the past couple of weeks. So you know, being part of it, massive honor, and you know, everyone across the country who's been part of the Open Trials too, you know, I'm sure they feel some sort of privilege for it too as well.
Perfect. What does this opportunity mean for you specifically, you personally even?
Oh, it's everything. You know, growing up in the Atlantic provinces, you know, we don't necessarily have the same opportunities that people in the other parts of the country have. You know, typically in Ontario and BC and Quebec, they're, you know, in the old days, they were generally the provinces that were looked at first in terms of you know, drawing on players for the national pool. In Nova Scotia and Atlantic Canada in particular, you know, we didn't necessarily have the infrastructure, but that's been growing massively with the work they're doing at Soccer Nova Scotia, with the Recs on the female side, and with the Whitecaps program that they've got going on there. So for me personally, this opportunity is everything. You know, it's something that I've always had my eye on. You know, I've always wanted to play in a professional environment, and you know, being part of the Open Trials, if it ends up that way, then so be it. But you know, just being part of the experience is everything.
Perfect. What was it like interacting with the different coaches? There's obviously, at the time, it was like 6 different coaches plus Alex Bunbury, obviously.
Yeah. You know, they all have their unique style. You know, Alex is very outgoing. He interacted with probably every player, I would say. You know, at the start of every day, he would come up and, you know, welcome every player. You know, he really put himself out there, you know, as the kind of face of the Open Trials, and I think every kind of player felt welcomed at that point. And you know, all of the other coaches have their unique styles. Some were a bit more outgoing than others, but all certainly, you know, you felt the pressure of them watching. You know, kind of the you know who they are. They mean a lot to local players in the form of Stephen Hart, you know, local legend. But you know, if you've been in the game a while, you know the other players. You know, Tommy Wheeldon Jr., you know, Robert Gale. You know, they're all big names in Canadian soccer. So to kind of be in front of them, showcasing your stuff, it was huge. And they certainly, you know, had their different styles. Their banter was good, but they made you feel welcome, and you know, they certainly made you know what that opportunity meant to them too as well.
Yeah, I know talk about their banter. I've seen a bunch of stuff on their social media, on Twitter specifically. Yeah. I gotta say this one thing. They've only been around for a few months in the league. I absolutely love our coaches, though. I love our coaches.
Oh, top notch. I mean, I don't think you could have found a better group of guys. I mean, the West Coast kind of banter they've got going on there between Calgary and Edmonton is top notch. And Robert Gale just loves getting in there with his 2 cents as well. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic when it plays out on the pitch to see their different philosophies. But they're doing well on the Twitter banter so far. But so you're right on that one.
Yeah. So if knowing what you know now after you've completed the trials, it's over a month, as of when we record this interview, it's over a month since you did the trials.
Yeah.
If you had to do it over again, what do you know now that you wish you knew back then?
I don't know. They laid it out pretty well. You kind of know you're going in there. This is your shot. You knew there was fitness testing either in the morning or the afternoon of the first day, and it was kind of a leave it all out there scenario. I got myself in the best of shape. Luckily, luckily or unluckily, Halifax was the first one, so we had it kind of almost right off the back of our season. So there was a few weeks to prepare. I got in a bit better shape than I was towards the end of my season. But it's hard to say whether I would do anything differently. Maybe because I was playing at the wing back, maybe take a few more risks offensively. But from what we gauged from the coaches, it was do the simple things right. And you kind of you'll rise to the top if your talent shows through. So, I think I performed well. So it's hard for me to say if I would do anything differently. But maybe take a few more risks. But again, hard to say.
Nice. Do you feel like you did? Do you feel like you left everything out there like enough that you probably, could get a chance at a preseason camp somewhere?
That's the ultimate goal. I mean, I think I did leave it all out there. Again, my kind of my philosophy is that if no news is good news. So kind of everyone waiting on the trials, they told us, hey, you'll find out after kind of all the trials are done. We'll have a chance to regroup, take a look at all of the players that played. Certainly I think I left it all out there. Got some feedback from the coaches at the end of the day. So I kind of know where I stand, but hopefully, earn myself a chance in preseason and then leave it all out there again. It's all about one day at a time.
Yeah. Do they give you a specific date when to expect players to get a phone call in November, December? Or?
No, well, I think it's going to be, probably in that same kind of date range as the draft is supposed to take place, which is recently announced. I think that's on the 12th of November. So, yeah. Alex Bunbury was pretty direct in terms of saying, you'll hear one way or the other. We all have these portals that we can log in as part of the Conduct fitness testing. So at least we know where we stand along the way with regards to the fitness testing. With respect to I think there's been as of today, probably over 1,000 people that have gone through the process so far. So I've got a pretty good idea where I stand there. They said we'll hear in November sometime. So hopefully in the first couple of weeks in November, we'll have some news one way or the other.
Yeah. How big of so I'm in Winnipeg right now. I'm in central Canada. How big of a reception is the Canadian Premier League getting over in Halifax or Atlantic Canada?
Oh, it's massive, and and hats go off to everyone involved with the Wanderers. They've done an excellent job in terms of promoting the team within the city of Halifax, within the province of Nova Scotia, and within Atlantic Canada. As we're going to be the only team in the region for at least 2018, maybe 2019 as well. Or 2019, 2020, sorry. So, we're kind of the Maritimes team right now. There's been lots of things going on the back end in terms of getting the mayor of Halifax involved, getting local communities involved. We've even released a beer with the Alexander Keith's brewery. So, there's a great marketing effort going, and the boys had an exhibition game this summer, and it was very well attended. It was an excellent supporters, and hats off to the organization, and a special hats off to the Privateers 1882 supporters group. They've done an excellent job in terms of rallying the support. Both online on Twitter and Facebook and offline. So it's I would say it's probably going to be one of the top supported clubs come regular season time.
Yeah, I think so. Like everyone I talk to about the Canadian Premier League, it seems like everybody's second favorite club is
Yeah.
Halifax.
Yeah, no,
So
it's, you got to get out to the East Coast. So, I think we're known for a few things out here. Having a good time is, is certainly one of them. So, I think it'll be an excellent match day experience.
perfect. As a fan and as a player, I guess we could put together here. What are you
Yeah.
most looking forward to for the Canadian Premier League in general?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess as a fan is just the match day experience. That's what it's all about, going, the march to the stadium that I know they have planned in Halifax, and I'm certain they'll have it planned in other places as well. That match day, going with your family to watch the events. My family is from Belfast, Northern Ireland, so we have a strong football or soccer background. So it's all about kind of the strong kind of ties to a team, and being able to have that banter back and forth with the other fans of the other clubs. But it's more about that civic pride. So being able to kind of support your team, and going out and making sure that you're supporting them through thick and thin. So I think as a fan, it's about the support. As a player, it's about getting on the pitch, doing what you love every day. I wake up, what can I do to better myself, either as a person or as a player? If I get the chance to get into a preseason camp, I'll make damn sure that I'm the hardest working one out there, and I'll earn a contract so I can get on the pitch in front of those amazing fans that I know will be across Canada. So if it's in Halifax or it's in Yellowknife, if they get a
Yeah.
team, I'll play wherever, but it's playing for the fans and playing for that badge, right?
Yeah, perfect. No, and I could tell you're so passionate. You love the game of soccer, which is fantastic. That's the type of players we want in the Canadian
Yeah, of
Premier League.
course.
How did your passion for soccer start?
It's, both my parents moved to Canada, and, in the 80s from Northern Ireland. And, it's kind of just been in our DNA. I didn't really have any, I'm a Canadian, but I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it, but I can't even skate very well. All my friends grew up playing hockey. I was just in love with the sport from day one with a ball at my foot. It's just, it was always on TV. My dad had no other interests, frankly. It was a Saturday, Sunday morning, the Super Soccer Saturday. We 3 games in a row, probably every Saturday of my life till I was about 15. And then I realized I had my own soccer on Saturday. So, it's just really been a passion of mine, and I never got tired of it. I think probably for a few years there in my 20s or my early 20s. I'm still 20 in my 20s now, obviously, but in my early 20s, I might have fallen out of love with it for a season or two, mostly because there wasn't that pathway. And I'd been playing in the men's league since I was 16, so it almost got a little bit repetitive, and I didn't see a path forward. But the CPL has kind of reignited, my flames, and it's exciting. It's exciting for any soccer fan or fan of any sport across the country to know that Canada's going to have another pathway for professional athletes. So the passion is burned from early on in my life through my parents' love of the game, and it's just continued through my own kind of grassroots desires.
Nice. Who would you say that you kind of style your game after? That's
Well,
professional, I know.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I love a good comeback story. So in the wing back, I'm a massive Manchester United fan. I know some people watching this show may not agree with that, but when I was growing up, that was the team, and they were the only ones to watch on TV. So, right now, I'm a massive fan of Luke Shaw. He's coming back off a broken leg. I can't respect anything further. And it kind of reminds me of myself a bit. Again, those 2 or 3 years that I might have fallen out of love with the sport, but finding that flame and getting back into it, I think that it's kind of like I see a lot of myself in him, and I like the way he plays. So the Luke Shaws of the world. I love Seamus Coleman for Everton. He
Hmm.
hasn't had the
Yeah.
best couple of seasons, but a few years back when he was scoring all those goals, bombing up and down along the pitch for Everton. I loved watching him play. Him and Leighton Baines, great players. So I like to think of myself as a hardworking, tactically astute fullback, but I love getting forward. So those types of players.
Nice. Um,
Yeah.
so obviously we don't know exactly what club you might be going to, but the
No.
choice was yours. If the choice was yours, every club comes to you with a contract. Who
Yeah.
would you want to sign for first and foremost?
If every club came, wow, I don't know. You know, I have to be a little bit political here in terms of you know, who might be watching this. But listen, I'll say this: I'll play for anyone. Give me the opportunity, and I'll work my tail off for any set of fans. But you know, I'm close to the East Coast, so you know, I'd love to put on that Wanderers jersey. But again, I would put on the jersey of any team in this league, because you know, I know how much this league means to Canadian soccer fans, to Canadians in general, and to myself. So you know, any team would be fine with me. You know, and you know, I'll work my tail off whoever it may be.
Cool. So we were talking earlier. You mentioned obviously the date, November 12th, which is the date of the now draft that just announced the other day. With the Canadian Premier League, of course, announcing that partnership with U Sports, with a draft, of course, on November 12th. What are your thoughts on that draft?
I think it's huge. I think it's a unique opportunity for people for people in school now, and for people looking to graduate, to kind of find that pathway. I think that's probably where myself and a lot of other young Canadians, you know, at that time in their career, didn't really know what was next. You know, we want to keep playing soccer. We've got no eligibility left. Do we just go play in the men's league for a couple of years, go to nationals, and then retire at, you know, 28, 29, 30? You know, that's not really ideal. But now, you know, there's something to look forward to. I think it's a massive step forward. And you know, even in the Canadian Premier League, if that's just kind of the next stepping stone to something greater, then so be it. At least there's a pathway now to bridge that gap between university and, you know, whatever league may be their height. So maybe it's a second or third division English team, and they're looking to use the Canadian Premier League to kind of make that step into the professional environment. Or you know, maybe it's the MLS, or maybe the CPL is the top. But you know, at least they have that pathway now. One thing I will say though is I think it's interesting the way they're going to do it with the eligibility. Where with kids going back to school and then being re-eligible to enter the draft. I'm not sure how that's going to work. You know, you may get some players that aren't loved too much if they go back and forth between teams. Yeah. So you know, that'll be interesting. But you know, I think it's certainly, you know, 5 or 6 steps in the right direction.
Yeah, of course, and like obviously we see what the MLS has with their super draft. Yeah. And, you know, it was nice when there was the odd Canadian that would go in the super draft. Obviously, I think the last one that went first overall was 2015 with Kyle Laren. Yeah. But now, you know, thank God we have our own league, and now we have our own draft for local kids. I mean, that's
huge.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, no, certainly it's huge. I mean, you know, you can't ask for much more. I mean, the CPL's, you know, their soccer operations department has done extremely well putting together the whole structure of the league and the back end, and you know, the coaches are doing their best with the open trials. So you know, they're working their tails off, and you know, the players are doing the same. So hopefully we'll have a successful 2019.
Yeah, hopefully successful beyond 2019 as well.
Of course, you know, that's what it's all about. Not just the first year, but it's all about longevity, and you know. Hopefully we get a few years out of your channel too as well, right?
Yeah, hopefully along with
exactly.
the league.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to wish you luck. I really hope you make it. You're a great guy. You're going to be great. Hopefully we see you, whether it's with Halifax, whether it's with Calgary FC, or whether it's with Yellowknife if they ever get a franchise.
Exactly. Yeah, no, man, I appreciate it. And listen, anytime you want me back on the show, I'll be happy to join you. I'm always happy to chat soccer. So, you know, I appreciate the well wishes, and, you know, all the best to you as well.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Well, guys, that was my interview with Jonathan Hammond, and I love talking with people like Jonathan, who are just so enthusiastic about the game of soccer, and more importantly about the Canadian Premier League. And I know it's a new league, and I absolutely love it, and I love talking to players and people just like Jonathan who are fans of the league already, which is really great. If you like that interview, please make sure you hit that like button. And of course, if you want to see more content like that right here on this channel, make sure you maybe consider hitting that red subscribe button. So until next time, thank you for watching.